as long as you're putting in the consistent effort of doing one thing in your business every single day to be better, it's going to have a compounding effect on your business. And at the end of the day, the best goal that you can possibly set for yourself is just to be 1% better every single day.
We're Sahara and Michaela, co-founders of Refine Marketing.
From corporate 9-to-5s to building and scaling multiple million-dollar companies in less than 5 years, we're not afraid to get into the nitty-gritty.
Giving you a raw and real look at what it takes to build and sustain a business.
This is Rise and Refine.
Welcome back to the Rise and Refine podcast. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday, guys. Glad to be here. We're going to be talking about a question that we've gotten quite a bit recently because of it being a new year. Naturally, everybody thinks of New Year's resolutions, and I personally am not a huge fan of a New Year's resolution. Like, I just don't really like the title. I don't like the term. I don't like what it means because I feel like everybody just drops them after the new year starts. They don't actually create like stackable habits. And we'll get into that later, but that's something that I have really been thinking through a lot recently is 2025 goals, what our goals are, and how we set them.
Yeah, 1,000%. I'm 50-50. Yeah. I also have seen a lot of people, I think it comes back to personality, who love the new year and setting those resolutions and those goals. And then I see them actually commit to it and it does change for the better. But you're right. Like a lot of people like start them and then don't end up going with it. This year I'm looking at it from a different perspective. To me, I'm calling them goals because I'm pretty good at setting like goals up and hitting those, but I'm not doing any drastic like changes in the sense of like, I'm going to do this resolution and make it happen. It's like, okay, they're just goals and I do goals and work every day. So I've got goals and I'm going to hit them. And whether it's the new year or not, it's what I wanted to do anyways.
Yeah, I think we've just gotten away from, or I guess the idea of a resolution has just become so diluted with it becoming a New Year's resolution, like just that term in general. Yeah. And that's why I'm not really a fan of it anymore, because I feel like if you wanted to restart something or you wanted to set a new goal or do something, you don't have to wait for the start of the year. You don't have to wait for the start of a new month, or even the start of a new week. Like it could be in the middle of the year. I mean, heck, we started Refined
you should
April
really be,
you
should be setting goals like every single month, every single quarter anyway. So to me, it was just like Q1 goals. That's like the best way I looked at it. Also, before we really dive into goals, we need to address, like, we're both in brand new locations. This is our first official podcast. So me and Michaela, if you watch our podcast and you don't listen, so you watch them on YouTube, we both moved at the same time, which is very, very hectic. So, but we are in our official podcast studios in our new locations.
Which is crazy to think because, I mean, it was actually on my 2024 vision board to buy a house sometime in 2024. I didn't know if that was going to happen, and we ended up making it happen at the end of October, my boyfriend Casey and I, and so we're moved in, we're settled. Half of the house is done, half of it's not. Y'all know how that goes. And then like my office space, it got painted, but there's no ceiling, there's no floor. So we're slowly renovating all of it, hoping to at least have the floors in by the end of January. So I'm super excited to have my own space. And I literally completed the setup of this podcast studio, all the equipment that you see, about 5 minutes before we started this.
Yes, that sounds about right.
We are winging it to the best of our ability. And if we look like we have it put together, I can promise you most times we do not. We're just trying to make the most out of what we have. So,
yeah. And I think that's like the raw beauty of like just our first season of this podcast is it's a lot of unfiltered rawness of like us just getting all of our shit together to make this actually happen, because it's a lot more work than I think either of us realize in the sense of learning the equipment and the setup. So let's dive back into goals and stuff. So we're going to talk about a different couple things, but new year, new goals is what we wanted to title this, because it is a new year and there are new goals, but we always do Q1 goals anyways. But we wanted to share with you guys some of the goals that we're doing for this year, both personal and work wise. And then also, y'all should DM us some of the goals you're working on, because I love to get inspired by other people's goals. Like, that's a huge thing for me. Because I'm like, I didn't think of that. I should do that.
Yeah, that's a fun one. And I think it's important to note too, like just to preface all of this. So when you're starting something, I refer it to this analogy of like pumping water through a well. Okay. When you first start pumping water in that well, the water is going to be crazy muddy to start, right? It's going to be super hard to pump that well. You're going to have crazy muddy water. It's going to be really gross at first. But then as you stay consistent in pumping the well, the water is going to start to become more clear, less dirt in it, and it's going to be a little bit easier to where you get into a rhythm and you create that habit to get to that goal. Or maybe it's you become more in tune with yourself, how you create content for your business, whatever it might be. It becomes a whole lot easier. And then soon enough, the water is clear. You have that consistent effort. And so it's really easy to pump the water. And so I would just want to start off by saying that you're going to have muddy water when you first start your goal. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be perfect. And that is totally okay, because at least you're trying something new. You're putting yourself out there and you're broadening your comfort zone, right? To where you actually have the opportunity for growth in your business, for your personal self, whatever it might be. And so anyways, I just wanted to start with that because I think that's so important to note too.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to go from
it's a good reminder that like when you set goals, like if you're like me and probably you too, we're always impatient. And when we set a big goal, we're like, we already want to be there and we're not willing to like let it take time, wait for that water to get clear, like you mentioned, and keep pumping it. Like that's our next episode after this one, which I feel like are the two biggest things for this year. Like they're my 2 words for 2025. And that is consistency and discipline, because you need both of those to hit goals, but it's a lot. And I'm also really big on setting super realistic goals, because last year I think I like let myself down because I'd say, okay, I'm going to work out 5 times a week and I'm going to eat super, super clean and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, this is why people fail at completing goals, because they set unrealistic goals. So when I was like setting goals for this year, I was very cautious about like, okay, can I actually do this? And what's a good start? Like, even though I may eventually want to get to working out again 5 times a week, realistically, Q1, how can I slowly ease into this to where I still feel better and I'm making improvement? But this year, what's more important is consistency, not just a huge jump into doing something crazy that I can't keep up with.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think like actually creating those feasible goals, like you said, they're very realistic. It almost goes back to our episode on SMART goals and how to set a SMART goal. Something that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Yes.
That's how we set goals, but we did a whole episode on that. So go back and watch that one.
Well,
but I
and
also want to note too
that somebody else that you set because you want to and not because you saw someone else set it. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'd be like, well, she says that she's going to, eat only veggies and chicken for 3 days out of the 7 every week. So I'm going to do that. Like I like to get inspired by other people's goals, but at the same time this year, I really thought about what do I actually want my goals to look like myself that's better for me.
Right. Yeah. And one of the biggest things that I've been working on is what goes on between my ears. Because if you have a goal or you set a goal and you have all of this stuff in place to make sure that you hit the habits that you need to get to that goal, whatever it might be. But then what's going on between your ears is so negative and you're telling yourself that you can't do it or that there's these obstacles and you're making excuses, then you're never going to reach your goal.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I really took to heart after kind of like auditing my 2024 and realized that the reason why I didn't hit certain things personally was because I made excuses for myself. I set restraints on myself with my words and my thoughts. And so just a note there as well. That's something that I'm personally working on. And if you're noticing that maybe that's something that you need to work on too, you're not alone in that. Because like I said, I'm also working on it. I'm speaking to myself here too.
Yeah, 1,000%. So we wanted to share with y'all some of like our goals.
So my goals are kind of, I want to say I want to actually start off with like the habits that I'm working to create, because I feel like those habits will help me reach my goals.
Yeah.
But more so, I feel like I'm just trying to create actionable, feasible, stackable habits for 2025. And so like one of those for me is getting up on my first alarm and not pressing snooze.
Literally.
That is such a hard one for me. And I'm like,
Yes.
I heard somebody say this where it's like, if you need more time in the day, you pretty much have to make that time.
Yes.
And so for us to accomplish certain goals that we have, I have to make more time. Like we're running out of time in the day for me to complete certain projects. And so right now I'm getting up at 6:45. I've always gotten up at 6:45 on weekdays since starting Refined. And I realized that like I need to make more time because I don't want to have to be working until 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night on projects. And so that meant that I started waking up at 6:30, and then I'm slowly going to progress until I can get to 6 a.m. wake up time. But I'm only going to do it in increments, and I'm starting in like 15-minute increments, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ones that I am actively working on.
I like how you are doing it slowly too, because a lot of people who want to wake up earlier, they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I wake up right now at 7, I'm going to do it at 5, and immediately they jump in. I did read going slower makes a huge difference, and doing like 15 minutes each month. Another thing I read recently too, I think it's in a podcast actually, where if you want to wake up earlier, it's not just about waking up earlier, it's about how you end your night before, which is really, really, really important, because I feel like a lot of times I forget that my night before is like, I'll say, it's okay, even if I'm extra tired tomorrow, I'm going to wake up no matter what. And we have to be more cautious about like, what did we eat the night before? When did we go to bed the night before? Were we staring at a phone before bed? Are we going to make sure we're in a deep sleep? Like there's actually a lot of stuff you have to prep yourself to do in order to be able to wake up early, which is gets missed and not talked about as often.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that I realized, well, when I first tried to wake up 15 minutes earlier, even how much that 15 minutes impacted my morning of like, I was groggy. I didn't have my clothes laid out for the gym. I didn't have like my greens prepped for my little like green drink that I have in the mornings. And so it threw off my whole morning because I wasn't prepared.
Yes.
And so it's kind of funny that I have prepping my calendar and to-do list the night before.
Yeah. So that you feel better in the morning and you feel more productive.
Actionable habits.
Yes, love it. Okay, my first one is kind of funny, but it's only funny if you don't know the reason why, because it seems silly to me. But actually my goal, and I have to say, I have been on it even before the new year I started this. So I think I'm like officially 2 weeks now doing this, but Michaela's gonna laugh. Taking vitamins. I'm not even kidding. Michaela knows. I have a 3-year-old who's in school now. I felt like people are going to think I'm a liar or like I'm insane or something else is wrong because I'm always sick. So and not only
you were
that,
sick a
but
lot
I felt
in their defense.
like, what'd you say?
You were sick a lot in their defense.
I was so sick. Yeah. All the time. And it's terrible being sick because when you're a mom and you're sick, you first have children who are sick, then you take care of them, then you get sick. So you're already behind because child's sick. Now you're even more behind because you're sick and you're trying to recover. But I've been big. Not only that, I'm really tired of getting sick. So I'm hoping the vitamins help. Fingers crossed. But two, my energy was really low last year. And then I felt really like inflamed, and like my gut health did not feel great last year. I felt inflamed, low energy, tired. So I've been taking my vitamins every single day for 2 weeks, morning and night. And I have to say, it's made actually a huge difference in my life. But coconut cult, have you heard of this?
Coconut pulp?
Yes. Okay. So
I have not heard of coconut pulp.
I have to plug in. And one day my dream is to get sponsored by them because they're that great. But coconut cult is this probiotic yogurt, and you take a spoonful a day. And it has over 50 billion probiotics in it. And it's really good for gut health. So anyways, I've been taking it every morning. I love it. So that was a huge goal of mine. And so far going good.
Have you seen the like sea moss stuff?
Oh, I just ordered some.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me how you like that because I mean, like I do the beef tallow with honey on my face as my moisturizer at night. I love it. It's like radically
I heard
changed
about
my
that too.
skin texture, and it's I'm a firm believer in the beef tallow. So I'm doing that, and I'm taking my greens in the morning, like my little green drink. But I'm so interested to see. I've never actually had anybody that I know personally take the sea moss stuff.
I wonder what it
So
tastes
you
like,
gotta let
but
me
I
know.
did just order some.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we'll see.
Please let me know. I'm so intrigued.
What's your next goal?
My next goal / habit is working out 4 times a week minimum. And this is like strictly just for me and my mental health because I've noticed that when I do work out, it helps my productivity throughout the day and it pushes me mentally and physically. So I know I'm growing my body, I'm growing my mind. But not to get too deep here, but I've always I'm an ex college D3 athlete. And so I was always like performing for somebody else or, building my body to perform for a sport, for a school's team, whatever it might be. And it was never like working out and physical fitness was never for me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Perform.
But get down, Luca. But I needed to find some way to be physically active throughout the day. And it kind of just like reignited a spark in me. So long story short, I did some deep diving into my own self and got a Crunch gym membership, switched from LA to Crunch Fitness. This is no plug to Crunch by any means, but I've just absolutely enjoyed it. The people there are so kind. I feel like I fit in. Nobody is like staring at you. Everybody's kind of younger too, which helps. At least at the one at mine, all the people at mine. And it's just a really inviting atmosphere. And I don't have like that gym bro judgy feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
having a
it
gym
just
you're
feels
comfortable
inviting.
at is
And I'm
really
not
important.
I'm not a bar girly. I'm not a Pilates girly. Like I don't move that way. I've never moved that way. And like I just love strength training. And so I'm excited to get back into it. But 4 times a week, that's my goal.
That's a good goal. And we, both of us last year, it's funny. I think we jinxed ourselves because at one point you're so committed and then we just both gave up. So we got it this time. So your goal, your first one was like waking up at a specific time. While I don't necessarily have like a specific time I'm going to wake up, because I think once you have a child, you just sometimes have to change it and adjust based on, okay, well, we had a rough night. If I need 30 extra minutes, I'm going to get those extra 30 minutes.
Right.
But the thing that I do have that's different this year is to make sure I wake up before Maeve. So I have my own quiet time in the morning. Because something that I used to do before I had a kid was I would always be the first one in the house to wake up. And I had this whole morning routine of quiet time, which is where I could read, listen podcast, drink my coffee, like have a slow morning helped me have a more productive day. And right now, what it was last year, I don't think I had single morning. I don't get any alone time really to myself, but I never had a morning last year where I woke up, had time to myself, started the day off slow and then got to work. It was always wake up, hurry, get ready, get Maeve going, get to work. It was always rushed. So I want to get back to having, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, but I want to make sure I wake up before Maeve and have some type of quiet time to me in my morning to get things going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's so funny. You say you have no quiet time. I feel like I have all the quiet time in the world because I'm just working from home by myself with my dog. So
enjoy it
I catch
while
myself
it lasts,
talking
you
to
will
Luca.
miss it one day. Like I don't
know
think
I will.
I'm ever alone.
When Casey gets home, I'm like, oh my gosh, talk to me. What did you do today?
Yes.
So that's pretty funny. But
that is funny.
That's awesome. Yeah. Quiet time in the mornings. It's just, it sets you up for, I don't know, such a productive day. Like going along with that, not looking at my phone for the first 30 minutes when I wake up. That's something that I've really just been, it's not even like it's not a goal or a habit that I'm actively working on. It's just something that I've tried to implement over the last couple of months, even after or even at the end of 2024. And so like actually taking and being intentional of waking up, not reaching for my phone because I have such a tendency to do that and check everything with Refind. And then actually just, dive into my journal time, my prayer time, and then get my day started after that. Well, those are like all of my smaller habits / goals. Do you have any other ones that you want to share before we jump into like our big 2025 goals for Refined?
Oh yeah, I had like 5 more.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
We'll talk about them.
Okay, we'll choose what we can add. So I've got one of my goals is the not diet goal. So what I mean by that is for the first time ever, I'm trying to just do a healthy-ish eating, meaning learn how to eat the way my body needs to be fed and not worry about diet, not worry about calories, but don't overeat, don't eat bad things, but also don't feel guilty if you have like a cookie. So like more, what are they like mindful eating? So I'm trying that, and I'm actually not eating out as much because I think I maybe cooked like 10 times in total last year, and I love cooking. It's actually like a passion of mine, but I never have time to. So I'm trying to get back into cooking. And so we've been cooking a lot of our meals again, not door dashing as much, and trying to do more mindful eating. But I'm still not going to eat breakfast. I'm not a breakfast girl.
Yeah. How many times did you actually order DoorDash last year? Do you even know?
Oh, let's not talk about it. I'm not going to call myself out.
I don't even know how you made time for yourself last year.
You know
honestly,
what's sad?
So
I bet if I
don't
added
blame
up all
you.
the money, I could have afforded an in-house chef.
That's a goal.
That is a legit goal, is to have like somebody like a chef where they can at least cook lunch, because lunch is where I struggle. I'm so busy. I really just don't want to take an hour out of the middle of the day, and I hate cleaning the kitchen twice. I hate it.
Yeah,
so
same.
Lunch for me is the worst, but we've been eating, and I have noticed it's made a huge impact on Maeve. She's been such a better eater, and she's eaten healthier stuff, and she likes cooking with me. So honestly, like I almost feel guilty that I didn't do it more last year, because it's made such a positive impact on her life for her to see me cook at home and eat dinner more. And she's starting to try more stuff. So anyways, less eating out and eating more. And then I just put on here to create a better work schedule, because I feel like you said, I'll be working at 10 o'clock at night, or I won't get my day started at the same time every morning because things happen. Or I'll push stuff off my to-do list. I don't want to end my workday with the stress of what I still have to do. And that's what I'm living in right now, is I still have to do this. I still have to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to feel better mentally about ending my day at a certain time and able to focus on family time, and then not feel guilty for what I still have to do.
Yeah, that's a really big one. I mean, one of my it's a very tentative goal, because I know that I'm not always going to hit it. It's not always going to be like a perfect picture scenario, but kind of living like the 8 to 5 schedule of a normal, quote unquote, normal job. Because like I said, I'm working to get up earlier in the morning so that I can incorporate my workout time, still have time for myself in the morning, get started by 8 a.m. and then work on projects up until 5. But sometimes, a client can't meet until 4:30 Eastern time. They run over, and there you are sitting at 5:30 wrapping up, and you still have a couple other tasks that you have to finish up for the end of the day. So it's like, I definitely want to be more cognizant and intentional with like how I plan my days. And that leads to, honestly, that is another one of it's like an unspoken, it's not a goal, it's just an unspoken kind of boundary that we've set, is only taking a certain number of projects per month. So that way we don't get nearly as backed up as we did last year, because it got to the point where last year we had a slew of clients all kind of start around the same time, or I guess they were staggered out by a week to start off. But then as their projects progressed, certain people were delayed with getting pictures back from their photographers, or maybe they were struggling with copy and they needed a higher copywriter, you know, so there were setbacks that were unforeseen, which pushed their projects out. But that caused us a backlog, and now we're finishing projects that should have been completed in 2024 in January of 2025.
Yeah.
So definitely a huge lesson learned on my end.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we'll get there. That stuff takes time.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, jumping into goals for Refine, what's the first one you kind of want to start with? Like, what are some things we want to talk about that we set with Refine for this year?
So two of the main goals that I have, and again, this is kind of like building habits too, I feel like, because it helps with me personally, but it also helps with me professionally within business, Refine, the podcast, etc. So one of them is getting back to reading for at least 15 minutes a day, like a growth mindset kind of book. And then the other is listening to an audio a day. So like a podcast episode, or maybe it's listening to like a TED Talk, or maybe I'm tuning into an Instagram live of a designer that I love, you know, something like that. So it's just like choosing to mentally expand myself, if that makes sense. That sounds weird, but that's the best way I can say it. 1% each day. So like just choosing to take those actions.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually had that too, is get back into reading and listening to podcasts daily, because that's something that helped me grow a lot, is learning and hearing from others. And that's something I'd like to do like more daily, every day, like wake up. That's part of even though it's called quiet time in the morning, part of my quiet time is listening or reading to something, just because I feel like that just relaxes me.
Yeah, that's when I do it too. Reading I do at the end of the day, like right before I go to bed, so that I'm not looking at my phone. But then listening to an audio or podcast, whatever you call it, I typically do that like right when I sit down at my computer, and I'm like kind of multitasking, but that's the only time I really have to do it. So
yeah. Another one that I have for like on the business side of things for goals is to get my projects organized better. I was really good, not last year, but the year before. I knew what every single project that I was working on, what every single project was that my team was working on, when they all had deadlines, what was the update with them, what were we handling at the time. And that's something we just kind of got more scattered with again. So
yeah,
it functioned like, to have as many team members as I do in 3 different businesses, it helps me to have my projects written down and organized with list under my projects of what I need to do, due dates and all of that. And I just need to get that more organized again.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. My biggest thing, kind of piggybacking off of that, is when I have a deadline for a project, getting whatever that like project piece is that's required for that deadline done at least 2 days in advance.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Because I know I can do it, because my skills have grown, and like my knowledge of how I want my process to look like has grown. So now it's really just implementing everything that I've learned. This is just kind of like a fun one, but I found a website where I've always wanted to turn my handwriting into a font.
Oh, yes.
Because people always say that I have really cool handwriting. It looks like a typewriter, and I've always wanted to turn it into a font. And I literally found a website that does it without it being super duper expensive. So I think that's a goal of mine, is to make my own font of my own handwriting this year.
That
so
would
we'll
be
see if
fun.
that happens. But I think that'd be super fun. And then actually using that as one of our fonts for Refined, like what? That'd be sick.
That would be so sick. That would definitely be so sick. And you do have good handwriting.
I just want to wrap it up with like, just be aware, be real with yourself, and give yourself grace of you're probably not going to hit every single goal that you set every single day of the year. And that's going to be totally okay. As long as you're putting in the consistent effort of doing one thing in your business every single day to be better, it's going to have a compounding effect on your business, and you're going to see the results from that. So give yourself grace, run the race at your own pace. Wow, that rhymed. Didn't expect for that to rhyme, but that rhymed. And at the end of the day, the best goal that you can possibly set for yourself is just to be 1% better every single day, whether that's in your business, yourself, what you're choosing to focus on mentally, getting your thoughts right. Just get 1% better every single day. And you're going to set yourself up for success to where when you look back at the end of 2025, you're not even going to recognize the girl that's sitting where you are at right now.
No.
So that's all that we have to say today.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode of the Rise and Refine podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you like this episode, please reach out to us on Instagram at Rise and Refine podcast or at Refine Marketing _. And we will see you next week.
See you next Monday.